5 years ago, actually, Ken reached out to me looking for another coach, and he brought me on board. It's been great ever since.
Yeah, Chris came to our hockey program through a former assistant coach, Dane Barazini. It probably took us, by the end of the first day, for Chris to fit in.
My first impression with Chris is Chris likes to talk.
It was always good to have a good conversation with him. He would talk for hours, honestly.
You know, there are some people who like to talk and they just like to hear themselves. Chris was engaging. Chris cared about what you had to say.
From the second he got to camp with us, he just brought energy. He was hilarious, just keeping everything light all the time, long days, but he was always smiling and just kept working hard for us. And it's just the kind of person he was. And the second you met him, you knew exactly what kind of guy he was.
He would always speak from his heart. That's why I always actually enjoyed talking to him.
So I can't remember one conversation or one meeting where I didn't enjoy being around Chris.
You know, his daytime professional job, he was an accomplished salesperson, represented his company outstandingly, and those skills just were part of who he was. He could work with anybody.
Anytime that I saw Chris on the ice, he was always thinking about the success that each of the players had on the ice as an overall.
Within the hockey staff, he had many responsibilities, certainly oversaw our defensive side of the game and did a lot with our video analysis and breakdown. So he also scouted our opponents and prepared us for the upcoming weekend matches.
He knew the game well. Even if you asked him, he never said he was a good hockey player, but he always loved the game and knew it well.
Chris was extremely analytical in regards to the breakdown of our opponents as well as to our own players.
Chris was second to none coaching. He knew, what plays to run. He would tell me after a shift, go do this next time, and I'd do it and it'd work out perfectly. He had some of the best advice that on and off the ice, obviously, but on ice it was second to none. He knew exactly what to say, and he could read the other team too. He'd always watch him in warm-ups, and he'd be like, this goalie's weak tops, blocker side, or weak glove. He could see it and act for that. He could definitely see it.
He was absolutely a great guy to have on the bench. He was always positive-minded, and even in tough times during games, you would hear him cheering on the boys.
You had a bad shift, he'd tell you, but he'd be the first one to pat you on your back, make sure you're smiling, having a good time.
He would never yell at you. You'd sit down and he'd be like, he'd lean and whisper in your ear, and he'd go, you know what you did wrong, didn't you? And then I'd go, yep, and he'd go, okay, don't do it again.
He really was remarkable in coaching and delivered a great message with helping players develop their skills, but always embraced the personal side of it and helping our players in the classroom or even just with their personal lives.
Not only did he have a great hockey mind, but he could communicate so well with the players.
He was a teacher, through the game of hockey. Whether he was teaching about life or hockey itself, he made sure that everyone out there on the bench and practice, learned something.
I think it's easy to sometimes have a tough day at school, or whatever it may be. Maybe a lot of guys were working too, and then to have practices that at the time I don't think started till 10:30. So to walk into the rink and just see his smiling face, or have him make some comment that probably wouldn't have even been that funny, but in that environment, it was always great.
Coach Chris was like the type of guy that every day you got to practice, you were excited to see. So I think every day with him was special, and everyone will remember his smile every day.
Chris is a coach I would describe as a fun, energetic, passionate coach who tried to bring the best out of you by motivating you to find the inner will in yourself to compete and be a better person on the ice and off the ice.
One story that sticks out to me in particular is my freshman year, we were playing at Saginaw Valley and we were down by a goal, and he told us this story about a three-wheeled bus and basically explained that hard work is going to get you where you want to go, and when I'm having hard times in the classroom or on the ice, I'll think about that story in my head, and it keeps me going a lot, and it's just something I think about.
Just to kind of put in a testament to who Chris was I ended up fracturing my ankle when we were out playing Waldorf University my freshman year. And we had a 14-hour bus ride back, and Chris was the first person. I get on the bus, he stacks a bunch of bags, gives me his pillow, his blanket for the long bus trip back, made sure I was comfortable, And then for the coming probably 8 weeks of recovery, every single day coming to practice, he'd call me or he'd stop by the dorms just to check on me.
Actually, it was this past main camp, and there was a few kids sitting alone, a few rookies, and we eating dinner alone. And Chris went up to him, sat with him, started talking about him. He brought some of the captains and veteran players over, and you could tell that it just made those kids' day, because once we came over and started talking to them, they opened up and they could be who they really were, and it was all because of Chris. Chris never let anyone sit on the sideline. He always included everyone.
He made fun. When we were in Nashville for the Nationals, he did a gender reveal for his young daughter, McKinley. And he involved the staff, he involved the boys, and he did something every single day. And you know, that's fun, but he made the fun. During our Nashville trip, we ended up on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. One of our players got to stand on that X and sing.
Chris planned the whole trip. I think that everyone that went on that trip would say they had one of the best trips of their life. You know, Chris was selfless in that aspect, that he wanted everyone to have a good time.
Yeah, Chris had another organization that he spent a lot of time with, a volunteer time. It was the Detroit Parade Company, and I know he was started kind of as a family thing with his father and his uncle, but he would talk reverently about his role at the Detroit Parade Company. And it was for the Thanksgiving Day annual Christmas parade. And Chris did many activities like most volunteers do, but one of his more important roles was to chaperone or be the bodyguard for Santa Claus. And I would tell Chris, I said, "You're Santa Claus." And he'd smile. And I would say, "You're Santa Claus because you bring everyone the gifts of happiness each day." And he was Santa Claus. He brought happiness.
Having him and just being that welcoming presence really made, for me especially my senior year, one of my favorites here, and some time that I'll never forget in my life.
He always reminded us to just be ourselves. I think personally I'm going to take that a long way. He always just told me, just be you. Don't be anybody who you're not. He changed a lot of lives. He changed mine heavily, and it didn't really hit me until all this happened.
Everyone that got to be around him became a better person because of it. So I just want everyone to know how amazing of a person he was, and a father too. He brought his son Beckett to a lot of our events, and it was amazing to see.
My son, he bought a suit because he wants to come to our games to wear a suit, because I wear a suit at the games, and you know, he comes in the locker room and the boys love him and stuff like that. So that's pretty, to me, that's probably the most special type stuff, is how I can kind of have my family be involved with the program.
Chris will be missed dearly, and his impact on the hockey program will live on forever. Chris, we'll miss you forever. Let's play some hockey tonight.